Welcome to Bigfoot Adventures. Have you ever had a Bigfoot sighting? If you have and you don't want to let anybody know that it was you that saw him, or you're afraid to tell your story because you're afraid of you being made fun of, I'd be glad to tell your story for you. All you have to do is email me your story at bigfootadventures411@gmail.com. Let me know what you want me to say, what you don't want me to say, and I can put your story out there so other people can hear about it without you being identified. So this story comes out of Jacksonville, Florida area, and I know this area that this happened very, very well. My dad lived there, just right down the street from this area, and this happened on August 22nd of 2000. My dad and I, we used to ride bikes back in this area where all these woods were. Sadly, my dad passed away 11 months ago, but here's his picture, his sweet picture. But we used to ride our bikes back there, and it was very, very wooded. And, I always thought, gosh, these woods are really dense back here. But there was a building back there, I guess, where these security officers worked, and they would, guard these buildings. I'm not sure what the building was or anything. But it was in the wooded area where the area was developing very fast. And, my dad his house was one of the first houses back there. And I watched this place just balloon up and develop, over a couple years. But this security guard that was guarding this building, he went out to have a cigarette. And about 5 minutes after he went outside to have a cigarette, he heard something very large moving in the tree line. So he looked towards the tree line, and the sound stopped. So he was a little nervous about it, so he called one of the vehicle patrol officers over, and when they got there, they went to the tree line together to investigate. He said that they both could hear something very large moving in the tree area, coming out from that tree line. He said that they saw a broken pine tree that was like 3 inches thick, that was broken like halfway up and was thrown like 10 feet away from where the base of the tree was, away from the tree line. And they both were kind of feeling uneasy about this because they noticed that the needles on it, it was a pine tree and the needles on it were still green. So it was relatively new, and they had no storms around, and it was so far away from the base of the tree they couldn't understand it. Well, they could still hear something moving away, but it was moving away from them towards the marshlands. Well, later at 2:30 a.m., they were standing out by the building again, and they heard one of the sonic alarms going off in the next building over. So they drove over to investigate, and the alarm turned off like someone had reset it. So they started thinking about it, and they thought, oh, it's probably the cleaning crew. They probably set it off on accident. So they stood outside, and they were just talking for a while, didn't think much more about it. And then the one officer that he was talking to, he turned his head a little bit, and his eyes, he said, got as big as saucers. He said, look at that. So he turned around to look at what the other officer was seeing, but he didn't see anything. So the other officer took off in the vehicle towards the tree line, and that officer followed on foot. They searched the tree line, didn't find anything, and the other officer said he observed a huge individual that was like 7 to 8 feet tall. He said it was all black, serious about what he saw. A few days later, he was talking to an officer that worked the same area as he did, and he told him 6 months earlier, a local resident asked if he patrolled his area by foot. It was a sparsely populated area. The resident told them he heard something big jump in the lake behind his house around dusk. He said he watched it walk out of the lake into the trees, and the description he gave was the same as what the officer saw. He said this was a regular occurrence that happened there. Now, like I said, this area, my dad and we explored this area a lot when he was alive, and this was an area that was, being developed. It was very wooded. And if you've ever been to Jacksonville, Florida, you can see all around Jacksonville. It's a big city, but if you get around the edges of it, is solid woods everywhere. So I think that these people saw something, and it's kind of creepy. But I appreciate you watching my videos and listening. And if you like what you're seeing and hearing, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you then.